Let's get brutally honest here. Have you ever stopped talking to someone, completely gone silent, expecting them to feel the weight of your absence? You thought it would echo in their mind, gnawing at them, forcing them to regret their actions or rethink their choices. But instead, they didn't flinch. They moved on, unfazed, as if your silence was meaningless. And you were left asking yourself, why don't they care? What went wrong? It's not just frustrating, it's maddening. Silence is supposed to be powerful, isn't it? They say silence speaks louder than words, but here's the uncomfortable truth. Silence only speaks when it has something to say, and when it doesn't, it's just empty space, easily ignored. This is where so many of us get it wrong. We wield silence like a sword, but forget to sharpen its edge. Why does your silence fail to leave an impact? Is it them? Are they heartless, indifferent, or just better at this game? Or could it be something deeper, something about you and the way you're using it? The answer lies at the intersection of two fascinating disciplines: Stoicism, the ancient philosophy of inner mastery, and dark psychology, the study of hidden human motives. Together, these frameworks reveal why silence often backfires, and more importantly, how to transform it into a force so unshakable that no one can ignore it. Let's start with a foundational principle from Stoicism. You control your actions, but never the reactions of others. The Stoics were clear on this. Your power lies in how you choose to respond to the world, not in how the world responds to you. But here's where many people falter. They use silence as a means to manipulate. They want it to elicit regret, guilt, or pain in someone else. This is a trap laid by your own expectations. And expectations, as the Stoics teach us, are the root of disappointment. Now, let's layer in the lens of dark psychology. Here's something chilling. When your silence comes from a place of hurt or pride, people sense it. They interpret it as weakness, not strength. Think about it. When you go silent out of anger or to make someone feel bad, you're essentially showing your hand. You're saying, I'm hurt, and I need you to feel it too. That's not power. That's vulnerability disguised as strength. And here's the kicker. People who are truly indifferent, those who seem unaffected by your silence, don't see your withdrawal as a loss. In their minds, it's validation. They think, I've won, they've retreated. Your silence, instead of unsettling them, reassures them that they've gained the upper hand. This is the brutal reality of why your silence may be falling flat. But don't worry, this isn't the end of the story. There's a way to reclaim the power of your silence, and it starts with shifting your mindset. Silence is not about controlling others, it's about mastering yourself. When your silence is rooted in self-respect, not reactivity, it becomes impossible to ignore. It's no longer a cry for attention, it's a declaration of independence. Right now, I want you to take a step toward that mastery. Pause this video, go to the comments, and write the phrase, "My silence is my strength." By doing this, you're not just affirming your commitment to growth. You're telling the world that your power comes from within, not from their reactions. Go ahead. I'll wait. Ready? Good. Now, in the next section, we'll break down why silence is so often misunderstood, both in Stoic practice and as a tool in interpersonal strategy. This is where it gets interesting, so stick around. Silence. It's been called a weapon, a shield, even a form of art. But here's the truth that most people don't understand. Silence is only as powerful as the intention behind it. Without clarity of purpose, silence is just nothingness. And this misunderstanding is why so many people fail to use it effectively. To grasp the true power of silence, we need to explore how it functions, both in Stoic philosophy and in the games of human psychology. First, let's break down how silence is viewed in Stoicism. The Stoics were masters of restraint. To them, silence wasn't a tool for manipulation, it was a tool for self-control. Marcus Aurelius once said, You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This principle applies perfectly to silence. For the Stoics, silence wasn't about punishing others. It was about protecting your peace. It was about choosing to disengage from chaos rather than being consumed by it. But here's the trap many people fall into. They think silence should force a reaction. They use it as a form of passive aggression or as a way to provoke someone into acknowledging their presence. The problem? This approach turns silence into a demand rather than a declaration. And the moment your silence becomes a demand, it loses all of its power. This is where dark psychology enters the picture. Let me share a truth about human behavior that will change the way you see silence forever. People are naturally resistant to control. The moment someone senses that your silence is an attempt to make them feel something, they instinctively shut it out. Why? Because nobody likes to feel manipulated. Even if they're wrong, even if they've hurt you, they will double down just to assert their independence. In their mind, your silence becomes an act of weakness, a sign that you're waiting for them to respond, to acknowledge you, and the more they sense your need for that reaction, the less likely they are to give it. This is why silence, when misunderstood, can actually backfire. It's not enough to simply stop talking or walk away. You have to pair your silence with a deeper purpose. True silence doesn't seek validation. It doesn't care about reactions. It's rooted in a place of self-respect and self-mastery, a state where you no longer need the other person's acknowledgement to feel whole. Now let me ask you, why are you silent? Are you hoping they'll notice you, regret their actions, or chase you? Or are you silent because you've realized they no longer deserve your words, your energy, or your attention? These are two very different forms of silence. One is reactive, the other is intentional, and only one of them carries true power. If you're starting to see the difference, then it's time to make your silence a reflection of your strength, not your hurt. I want you to take a moment and write this phrase in the comments. I speak only when my words have purpose. This is your declaration that silence, like speech, is a choice you make for yourself, not for anyone else. Stick around, because in the next section we're going even deeper. We'll explore why your silence might be losing its edge and how to stop it from being dismissed. This is where the real transformation begins, so don't miss it. Here's something that might sting. If your silence isn't having the impact you hoped for, it's probably because it's missing the elements that make it powerful. Silence, when used correctly, can be a statement louder than any words, a signal that commands respect. But when it's misunderstood or misapplied, it becomes something else entirely. Background noise, easily ignored. So, why does your silence lose its power? Let's start with the most common reason. It's reactive, not intentional. Reactive silence is emotional. It comes from a place of anger, pain, or pride. Think about it. When you go silent because you're hurt or frustrated, what's your goal? Are you trying to protect your peace? Or are you secretly hoping they'll notice, feel guilty, and chase after you? If it's the latter, then your silence isn't about self-mastery. It's about manipulation. And the moment your silence becomes dependent on their reaction, it loses all its strength. Now let's take a closer look through the lens of dark psychology. People can sense when your silence is reactive. They pick up on the undertones of desperation, even if it's subtle. And here's the kicker: they'll exploit it. If the person you're silent with is emotionally detached, they'll interpret your silence as a weakness. They might even use it to assert control, thinking, if you're waiting for me to care, you'll be waiting forever. But there's another layer to this. Silence can lose its power because it's inconsistent. One moment, you're silent and withdrawn. The next, you're back, trying to explain yourself, overcompensating to regain their attention. This back and forth sends a clear message. Your silence isn't a choice, it's a tactic. And tactics that lack consistency are doomed to fail. People stop taking you seriously because they know you'll eventually break. Finally, let's talk about another critical mistake: silence without self-respect. If your silence is empty, if it's not backed by genuine confidence and detachment, it's like a lion without its roar. It doesn't command attention, it's simply ignored. Silence is only powerful when it reflects a deeper strength, a kind of quiet confidence that says, "I don't need your validation. I've already made peace with myself." So, how do you know if your silence has lost its power? Look at their behavior. Are they unaffected, dismissive? Does your silence feel more like a game you're losing rather than a boundary you've set? These are the red flags that your silence isn't working. But don't worry, this isn't the end of the road. It's just the beginning of a transformation. Right now, I want you to take a step toward reclaiming your power. Write this phrase in the comments: "My silence is my boundary, not my weapon." This is your declaration that your silence is no longer reactive. It's a choice, a boundary that protects your energy and your peace. In the next section, we'll dive into something crucial: how the psychology of indifference works and why the person on the other end of your silence might not even care. Trust me, you don't want to miss this part. Let's keep going. Let's face it, nothing stings quite like realizing your silence doesn't bother someone. You go silent, expecting them to notice, to feel the weight of your absence, and instead, they seem unaffected. Indifference. It's like hitting a wall. But why? Why do some people seem completely unbothered by your silence? The answer lies in the psychology of indifference, a concept as fascinating as it is frustrating. To understand indifference, we need to start with a key principle of human behavior. People respond to what they value. If someone doesn't value your words, your presence, or your connection, then your silence will hold no weight for them. Think of it like turning off a radio station they don't listen to. They simply don't notice it's gone. This can be a tough pill to swallow, but it's an essential truth. Their indifference has more to do with them than with you. But here's where dark psychology offers a deeper insight. Some people use indifference as a defense mechanism, a way to maintain power in relationships. When they sense that your silence is intended to provoke a reaction, they double down on their detachment. Why? Because to them, acknowledging your silence feels like surrendering control. It's a psychological game, one they're determined to win by showing you that they don't care. Whether or not that's true doesn't matter. What matters is the perception of control. And then there's another chilling reality. Some people genuinely thrive on the space your silence creates. Instead of missing you, they use your absence as an opportunity to focus on themselves, their interests, or even someone else. These are the individuals who've learned to detach so completely that silence doesn't unsettle them. It liberates them. It's not necessarily malicious, but it can feel deeply personal when you're on the receiving end. So how do you navigate this indifference? First, you need to separate your silence from their response. If their lack of reaction affects you, it's a sign that your silence isn't rooted in strength. It's still tied to expectation. And this is where Stoicism becomes a lifeline. The Stoics teach us to let go of what we cannot control, including other people's indifference. As Epictetus said, "Seek not that events should happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and your life will be serene." In other words, their indifference isn't your problem, it's theirs. Here's the truth. Indifference can feel like rejection, but it's also an invitation to rise above it. Instead of seeing their apathy as a failure of your silence, see it as proof that you no longer need their validation. Your silence isn't for them, it's for you. It's a way to preserve your energy, your peace, and your focus on what truly matters. Now it's your turn to reclaim your narrative. Head to the comments and write this phrase: "I release the need for their reaction." This is your commitment to rising above their indifference, to letting go of the need for their acknowledgement. In the next section, we'll dive into the Stoic principle of control, why it's the cornerstone of your strength, and how it can help you transform your silence into something undeniable. Stay with me because we're just getting started. Let's pause and reflect for a moment. Why does it hurt so much when your silence doesn't get the reaction you expected? It's because deep down, you're trying to control something that isn't yours to control. And this is where Stoicism offers us a powerful lesson. The only thing within your control is you. Everything else, other people's thoughts, feelings, and actions, is beyond your reach. Trying to control them is not just futile, it's exhausting. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't just philosophy, it's a roadmap to freedom. When you shift your focus from controlling others to mastering yourself, you take back your power. And this shift changes everything, including the way your silence is perceived. Here's the problem with most people's silence. It's loaded with expectation. You're silent because you want them to notice, to feel guilt, or to come back. But as long as your silence is tied to their reaction, you're still giving them control. Think about that for a second. Even when you're not speaking, you're still letting them dictate your emotional state. That's not power, that's dependency. The Stoics teach us to sever this dependency, instead of asking, what will they think, or how will they react? The question becomes, what do I think, and what do I value? Your silence should be a reflection of your inner strength, a choice you make because it aligns with your peace, not because you're waiting for someone to validate it. When your silence comes from this place of control, it becomes unshakable. But let's take it one step further. What happens when you truly embrace the Stoic principle of control? You start to realize that their reaction, or lack of one, says more about them than about you. If they're indifferent to your silence, that's their loss. If they try to use your silence against you, that's their insecurity. None of it touches you because you've already let go of the need to control them. This is the essence of Stoic strength, learning to control what you can and releasing the rest. When you master this, your silence becomes a force of nature, calm, steady, and undeniable. It no longer demands attention, it commands respect. People notice because it's not a plea, it's a boundary. So ask yourself, am I trying to control them, or am I mastering myself? If you're ready to shift your focus inward, declare it now. Head to the comments and write, "I master myself, not them." This is your pledge to let go of external control and claim the power that's always been yours. In the next section, we'll explore the role of ego and expectation, two silent saboteurs that might be undermining your silence without you even realizing it. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Let's keep going. Let's talk about two hidden forces that might be quietly sabotaging your silence: ego and expectation. These two are like shadowy figures operating in the background, convincing you that your silence is powerful when, in reality, they're draining its impact. Understanding how they work and how to rise above them is essential if you want to reclaim the true strength of your silence. First, let's break down the ego. Ego is the part of you that says, "They should care about my silence. They should notice me." It's that inner voice that thrives on being acknowledged, validated, and even feared. But here's the harsh truth. The ego is fragile. It's easily bruised. And when it takes over, your silence stops being a tool for self-mastery and becomes a demand for attention. When your silence comes from ego, it's not strong, it's vulnerable. It says, "I need you to see me. I need you to react." And what happens if they don't? Your ego crumbles. This is why ego-driven silence is so dangerous. It's completely dependent on someone else, and if they don't give you the reaction your ego craves, you're left feeling powerless. Now let's talk about expectation. Expectation is the quiet partner of ego. It's the belief that your silence will produce a specific outcome. They'll miss you, they'll regret what they did, they'll reach out. But as the Stoics teach us, expectation is a trap. Marcus Aurelius said, "You will find peace of mind only when you stop hoping for a better future." Translated to our topic, this means, stop hoping for them to react the way you want. The moment you attach an expectation to your silence, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Here's where ego and expectation collide. When you expect them to notice your silence and they don't, your ego takes the hit. You start to doubt yourself, second-guessing whether your silence even matters. And this doubt is what ultimately undermines your power. The cycle is vicious. Ego drives expectation. Expectation creates disappointment, and disappointment weakens your resolve. But there's a way out. The key is to remove both ego and expectation from the equation. Instead of using silence to get a reaction, use it to protect your peace. Instead of hoping they'll notice, focus on how silence serves you. This isn't easy. It takes self-awareness and discipline, but it's the only way to reclaim the true power of your silence. Here's an exercise for you. The next time you're silent, ask yourself, am I doing this for me or for them? If the answer is for them, you need to dig deeper. Shift the focus inward and make your silence about self-respect, not external validation. If this resonates with you, I want you to make a declaration in the comments right now. Write this phrase: "My silence is for my peace, not their reaction." By doing this, you're taking the first step toward breaking free from ego and expectation. In the next section, we'll discuss the behavioral clues that reveal when someone truly doesn't care about your silence and how to use this knowledge to your advantage. Stay with me, because this is where things get real. Let's face it, one of the most painful truths to confront is when someone truly doesn't care about your silence. You might be holding your breath, waiting for a sign that your absence has hit them, but what if it hasn't? What if your silence isn't echoing in their mind the way you thought it would? To move forward, you need to recognize the signs that they're unaffected, and more importantly, learn how to reclaim your power in the face of their indifference. The first sign is their behavior doesn't change. When someone cares about your silence, you'll see it in their actions. They might reach out, try to bridge the gap, or at least show signs of discomfort. But if they carry on with life as though nothing has happened, no calls, no texts, no acknowledgement, it's a clear signal that your silence hasn't registered on their radar. Another sign is emotional detachment. Watch for this. They're not upset, angry, or reactive in any way. In fact, they seem perfectly content without your presence. This can feel like a punch to the gut, but it's important to recognize what's really happening here. Their detachment isn't necessarily a reflection of your worth. It's often a sign of their own inability or unwillingness to connect on a deeper level. Here's a subtle but powerful clue. They turn the tables. Instead of reacting to your silence, they may use it as an opportunity to assert control. This could look like posting on social media to show how great their life is without you, or subtly implying that your absence is irrelevant. These behaviors aren't random. They're calculated moves designed to reinforce their sense of superiority. But perhaps the most painful sign is they seem genuinely unaffected. No games, no reactions, just silence in return. This is where the Stoic principle of control becomes your lifeline. You have to remind yourself that their indifference is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of who they are, and it has nothing to do with you. So, what do you do when you see these signs? The first step is acceptance. Acknowledge what's happening without judgment. This is what the Stoics call seeing things as they are. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have to assemble your life yourself, action by action. In this case, that means taking your next steps not based on their behavior, but on your own self-respect and values. The second step is to stop playing their game. When you recognize that they're unaffected, don't try to escalate your silence into something louder. That only puts you in a reactive state. which is the opposite of Stoic strength. Instead, focus on building a life that thrives without their attention. True power isn't in making them care, it's in not needing them to. Now let's make a commitment together. If you're ready to move forward without needing their reaction, write this phrase in the comments: I thrive without their attention. This is your affirmation that their indifference won't hold you back. It will only push you forward. In the next section, we'll discuss how to transform your silence into a powerful force that commands respect, even when others seem indifferent. Stay tuned, because this is where you reclaim your power. By now, you've probably realized that silence alone isn't enough. It can fall flat, be ignored, or even misunderstood if it's not rooted in true strength. But here's the good news. You have the power to transform your silence into something that commands respect, something that cannot be ignored. It starts with shifting your mindset and changing the way you approach silence altogether. The first step is intention. Your silence must come from a place of purpose, not emotion. If you're silent because you're hurt, angry, or trying to provoke a reaction, you're giving away your power. But when your silence comes from a place of calm, intentionality, and self-respect, it becomes magnetic. It's no longer about them, it's about you. Silence, when rooted in purpose, becomes an act of self-mastery. Next, let's talk about consistency. Nothing undermines the power of silence more than breaking it impulsively. If you decide to go silent, stick to it. Don't break your silence to explain yourself, defend your decision, or check if they've noticed. Inconsistency signals uncertainty, and uncertainty weakens your position. True power comes from holding the line and letting your silence speak for itself. Another key to making your silence stronger is self-improvement. Use the space your silence creates to focus on your growth. Read, learn, work on your physical and mental well-being. When people see you thriving in their absence, it sends a clear message. Your silence isn't about sulking, it's about elevating yourself. And nothing is more powerful than showing that you don't need their presence to grow. Now, let's add a Stoic principle into the mix: detachment. When you detach from the need for their reaction, your silence becomes unshakable. Marcus Aurelius taught us to let go of things beyond our control. If you're holding your breath, waiting for them to notice, you're still tied to their response. But when you release that expectation, your silence becomes an unbreakable boundary, a quiet force they can't touch. Finally, embrace calm confidence. Power isn't loud, it's steady. When you carry yourself with quiet self-assurance, people notice. Your silence becomes a statement, not a strategy. It says, I don't need to explain myself. My actions speak louder than words. This kind of silence doesn't just go unnoticed, it leaves an imprint. Now, it's time to put this into practice. I want you to declare your intention to transform your silence into strength. Go to the comments and write this phrase: My silence is my power. By writing this, you're committing to making your silence purposeful, consistent, and rooted in confidence. In the next section, we'll take it even deeper. We'll explore how self-mastery, the core of Stoicism, can help you fully own your silence and make it a reflection of your inner power. Don't go anywhere, because this is where your transformation becomes complete. Now we've reached the heart of the matter: self-mastery. This is the cornerstone of Stoicism, the foundation upon which your silence and your entire life becomes unshakable. If your silence hasn't worked in the past, it's likely because it wasn't a reflection of mastery. It was a reaction. But true silence, the kind that commands respect and inspires strength, can only come from mastering yourself. So, what is self-mastery? At its core, it's about control, not over others, but over yourself. It's the ability to regulate your emotions, align your actions with your values, and remain calm in the face of chaos. The Stoics believed that mastering yourself was the greatest achievement in life. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Let's break this down into three key components: emotional regulation, detachment, and alignment. First, emotional regulation. Silence rooted in emotional reactivity, like anger, pride, or hurt, will always be weak. Why? Because it's not about strength. It's about trying to process pain without confrontation. But when you master your emotions, you choose silence for a higher purpose: peace, clarity, and self-respect. Instead of letting emotions dictate your actions, you let your principles guide you. Next, detachment. This is where most people struggle. They stay silent, but remain deeply tied to the outcome, hoping their silence will provoke a reaction. This is not true mastery. It's just another form of dependency. Detachment means letting go of the need for validation, letting go of the hope that they'll notice or care. Your silence becomes powerful when it's no longer about them. It's about protecting your energy and focusing on what you can control. Finally, alignment. Your silence must align with your values. If you're silent because you're avoiding conflict or trying to manipulate someone, it's not a reflection of mastery, it's a defense mechanism. But when your silence aligns with your principles, like self-respect, inner peace, or your personal growth, it becomes a statement of who you are. It says, "I don't need to speak to prove my worth. My actions, my presence, and my energy are enough." So how do you start mastering yourself? Practice mindfulness. Reflect on why you're silent. Is it reactive or is it intentional? Commit to making silence a choice, not a reflex. And remember, self-mastery is a journey. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. If you're ready to embrace self-mastery and let your silence reflect your inner power, I want you to declare it right now. Go to the comments and write, "I master my silence. I master myself." By writing this, you're committing to transforming your silence into a reflection of your strength, not your emotions. In the final section, we'll bring everything together. We'll talk about how to fully own your silence and use it to inspire not just others, but yourself. Don't miss this. It's the final piece of the puzzle. So, here we are. You've learned how silence can be misunderstood, how it loses its power, and how to transform it into a reflection of your inner strength. But now it's time to take everything you've learned and put it into practice. Because silence, when wielded intentionally, isn't just a tool. It's a way of being. It's a reflection of who you are and the power you hold within. Let's revisit the core idea. Your silence is only as powerful as the foundation it rests upon. If it's rooted in ego, expectation, or reactivity, it will fail. But when it's rooted in self-mastery, purpose, and alignment, it becomes undeniable. Silence isn't about control over others, it's about control over yourself. It's about creating space for peace, growth, and clarity. But here's the most important takeaway. Silence isn't passive. It's not about withdrawing or retreating. It's about choosing not to engage in ways that disrupt your peace. True silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the presence of purpose. And when you align your silence with your values, it becomes a statement that cannot be ignored. Think of silence as a mirror. It reflects the strength of your character, your emotional stability, and your ability to rise above the noise. When someone doesn't respond to your silence, it's not a loss. It's a reminder that you're not seeking their reaction. You're building a life that thrives on your terms, not theirs. So, what's next for you? It's time to own your silence. Make it your boundary, your shield, your declaration of independence. Don't use it to manipulate. Use it to elevate. And remember, true power isn't loud. It's calm, steady, and unshakable. Now, let's end this journey together with one final declaration. Go to the comments and write this phrase. My silence is my strength, my peace, my power. By writing this, You're solidifying everything we've discussed today and committing to a life of purpose-driven silence. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like it and share your thoughts in the comments. Your insights might inspire someone else on their journey to self-mastery. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another video like this one. This is your space for growth, wisdom, and empowerment. Thank you for watching Stoic Blessing. Until next time, remember, true power is found within, and silence is the language of the strong.